Hi, I'm Gazzaneeadak, but you can call me Gaz. I'm currently the one getting his skull caved in by this big rock monster. But how did I get here? For that, we have to go back. It all started when I left that island, where I arrived on Withenback to the city called Orgrimmar, and once again I found myself talking to Grimmax, who I think is warming up to me because she gave me a chess piece. She tried to give me another quest, but I ran off because I wanted to explore the town. So I ran into this new city, and the first thing that caught my eye was this sled thing. So I jumped in the sled and turned invisible, and then it just fucking left. And then I found myself invisible and unable to move. I then started trying to figure out how to get out, which luckily for me, it didn't take as long this time. So I carried on, and I turned around and saw this merchant Maku, who's a turtle on a dinosaur, which is pretty awesome. And he sold stuff like Glacier Bay Halibut and a hypersensitive sensor. Not knowing what the fuck any of that stuff was, I turned around and entered this building, which happened to be a bank, where I can store items, I suppose. I then decided I should probably talk to Grimmax, who wanted me to talk to the rat. So there he is, the rat. So I talk to him, and he tells me he's going to guide me around the city. The only problem is that he actually can't remember where to go. So instead I ask the guard, and she marks it on my map. So I tell the rat that I'm ready, and we head off. Oh my fucking. So when we're ready, we head to the stables, where he wants to consistently tell me that time is money and we have to go.
Time is money, friend. Let's go. Time is money, friend. Let's go. Time is money, friend. Let's go. We're almost there. The stables are just up that hill.
So after that trek, I finally made it to the stables.
Time is money, friend.
Oh my fuck. So with my marker only 90 yards away, I head into the stables, where it disappears. So I started speaking to everyone in the stables, confused as to why I couldn't continue my quest. So I kept talking, and then I realized the marker is 625 yards away. So I start running back, not before raiding some random Christmas tree, hoping to grinch some gifts, but sadly I couldn't take them. So I continued back to the marker, and there he was. So when he was ready, we went to the stables. Making sure that I was following him this time, I entered the stables to continue my quest. I talked to Rahaka, who said she wanted to give me a mount. I mean, she could at least take me out to dinner first. But aside from that, she offered me something else. A dinosaur. A fucking dinosaur. I accepted that shit instantly, and then the dinosaur was put in my bag, so I clicked it, and then dragged it to my hotbar. And I'm just saying, this game is giving me more and more reasons to like it. I have a dinosaur. So my next quest is to go to talk to Gormok Ogrefist. So I race off for my ready-to-ride raptor, and I find Gormok Ogrefist, who teaches me about the specializations that I looked at before. And then he asked me to go speak to some person in the inn next door. So I walk into the inn and talk to innkeeper Nufa, and then I make this inn my home, and then I guess she casts some home magic or some shit. My next order of business is to speak to, you guessed it, Grimmax. I once again summon my dinosaur, and we ride on out. I then entered the Grommish Hold and spoke to Grimmax, and apparently I've been requested counsel with the war chief, and it turns out I'm being sent off to this place called Zandalar to recruit some Zandalari to join the horde. So I leave the Grommish Hold, and I'm greeted by a sturdy wyvern. So I jump on its back, and we fly out to new lands. I then had to watch this cutscene of this boat and these two guys, this woman at a fire, giant dinosaur air thing in North Korea, before I finally started loading in and found myself in new lands. So my first order of business in this new Aztec area was to talk to Nathanos Blightcaller, who gave me a war chain of the Horde, which I accepted. I then proceeded to equip it using right click instead of dragging, because I'm learning. I then started speaking to this Princess Talanji, who also has a dinosaur, and she welcomed me to the city of Zuldazar, which is the jewel of all troll civilizations. I then summoned my dinosaur, which is way cooler by the way, and proceeded to follow the princess, where she proceeded to talk to me about how she needed the help of the Horde and why she called upon me, one of its greatest heroes. And while I appreciate the compliment, I don't know what the fuck I've done to become the greatest hero. I mean, I literally have a toothpick on my back. But anyway, so I continued riding on with the princess, learning about the politics of the city, when we were suddenly stopped by some Trollishan forces, in which one of them called me a mongrel, and while he's not wrong, I was not happy about it. Then the princess and this dude proceeded to have a long argument, and then he called me horde scum. And I don't know who this big-nosed bitch thinks he is, because if he keeps talking to me this way, I'm gonna skin his cat. So after he continues shit-talking me, it turns out I have to go meet this King Rastakan. But then I got distracted, and met this dude called Huck, who sells bracelets. And then I found this dude who was selling a freaking Triceratops for only 500,000 gold, so I cracked open the old money pouch, and not happening. So I returned to the princess and jumped on this pterodax bird thing, and then we took off, where we soared into the sky and I saw an awesome view of the city. I was then dropped off on this ledge and spoke to the princess once again, who took me to the king, and then I was put into a cutscene with no one other than fucking Schnozzer over here who was shit talking me once again. I then walked with the king, who mentioned something about me rescuing the princess, and at this point I'm thinking this dude's got the wrong troll because I have no recollection of this. He then mentioned how I have to prove the worth of the horde to Zandala, to which Neptune Nose over here kicked up a fuss, which the king quickly shut down and named me the Speaker of the Horde. I then spoke to the king, who once again mentioned me saving his daughter. And look, I don't know what kind of Xandari Xanax these dudes are taking, but I'm telling you, this shit never happened. The king then told me to speak to Zalani, who was going to lead me to the Great Seal. I then entered this room to find my friend Squirting, who started playing at the same time as me and helped me kill the bear in the tutorial. I then stood on this thing which I honestly thought was a rug, it turns out to be an elevator, and just left my friend behind, so I had to go back. And then we both got on the elevator, and then we headed out. I then had to summon the horde, apparently, with this banner thing. And then Princess Percocets wanted to show me around. And all she basically did was just flex on how rich her daddy was. I then noticed I had an unspent talent point, so I opened up my specialization tab, and after reading a bit, I decided to go with this one. I then once again spoke to Princess Prozac, and completed a quest. I then started looking at some of the options down here, and I saw Group Finder, which I opened, and I found this thing called Dungeon Finder, so I chose this one, and started it. I then opened this map of the province, and clicked on this quest, which I accepted. I then spoke to Princess Penicillin once again, and accepted this new quest to speak to the king. So Squirting and I entered the elevator once again, and then spent a bit of time trying to figure out how to make it work, which ended up just working on its own. So I ran up to meet the king and was greeted by 3 new quests, which I accepted. I completed a quest from the king, and then he wanted me to go speak to some Zul the Prophet in Tal Garub. Started to run off, and then I changed the dungeon finder options to all of the dungeons. I then started making my way down the stairs towards my objective, and for some reason I thought the stairs led here, but I was very mistaken. And I then shattered all the bones in both of my legs, but I walked it off. I then summoned my raptor, and I headed out of the city for the first time. I then entered this dense jungle where I fastly approached my objective, and in no time I found Zul the Prophet, who had a couple of quests for me, one of which involved me giving his concoction a bit of body, and another one which involved me collecting souls. Nice. So I ran in and found this woman who needed saving, so I killed the spirit twister and saved her unlife, I suppose. She then gave me a quest to collect some voodoo totems, so I quickly got to work sucking souls and taking totems, and adding body to the concoction. Wow. Took another totem, added some more body, and then found the final totem. I returned to Zul the Prophet to turn in my quests, which rewarded me with one of 2 items. So I chose this one. And then he gave me a new quest to destroy some Voljumba masks. So I destroyed 1, and then 2, and then 3. I then found this purple chest which is being guarded by some mind-slaved Gurubashi, so I proceeded to delete them from existence and check my loot, which contained a bunch of random items that I have no idea what they mean. I then helped Squirting kill this mind-slaved Burr, and then we got this enter option for something called the Motherlode, so I just joined mid-fight. I was then thrown into this random area, surrounded by even randomer people. So we forged on, ready to kill monsters, which just happened to be some townsfolk, selling at their stores. So we massacred them anyway. We walked over their corpses and carried on, and then we encountered our first boss, who commenced pummeling, so I charged straight in and started button mashing once again, only to see my newfound teammate faceplant. So we continued fighting the battle robot, and it turns out there's these ball things that you have to kick towards them. So when I finally got my chance, I started kicking balls left, right and center, and then with a swift gluteal attack, we put him down. and I was awarded some cold hard cash. So once again, we forged on ahead, until I was intercepted by a horde of green rats. There was no escaping. And for the first time in Gazzaneeadak's journey, he dies. By the time I regrouped with my allies, it seems they had started another boss fight. So I did what anyone else would do. I quickly ran to the fracking totems and collected them both. I then ran over to the boss and had no idea what to do with them. I was literally just running around, not doing anything. And according to the recording, this went on for about 3 minutes, until I finally figured it out and placed it down, which I still don't know what it did. I went in again with my button bashing barrage, and we had some close calls, but in the end, we defeated it. And I was rewarded with some Stone Fury Vambraces, which were level 43, so I didn't even try to equip them. So we carried on once again, only to find that one of our teammates was offline. With our replacement teammate, we ran into the next boss fight, which was surprisingly really easy and we killed it quickly. We then proceeded to the final boss battle, this mech helicopter thing. And for some reason I thought we had to destroy these generator looking things, but no, that wasn't the case. One of his main abilities was using this Gatling gun thing, but you just had to run behind it. And he also did this slamming drill thing, which is kinda cool. And after a good team effort, we finally smacked the rat out of his mech and curb stomped him out of existence. To which I was rewarded Razdunk's big red button, which I put onto my hotbar. I then had to figure out how to get the hell out of here. So I looked through the dungeon and raids options and couldn't find anything, until I figured it out. So I left the Motherlode and headed back to fuck. Hey guys, it's end of video Gazzaneeadak here, and I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the support on the first episode. Honestly, it blew me away, so thank you guys so much. I'm genuinely enjoying the game, and I cannot wait to play more and record more and edit more episodes for you guys, so just hold out and I'll send them out, and we'll get this ball rolling. I'm loving World of Warcraft. Thanks guys.